Good morning, world.
Good morning, world. Well, here we are again with another episode.
Hey, we're twins. I just noticed that.
I know, it's kind of hard to tell us apart, isn't it? Look exactly alike. We haven't done a comment in a while. Brian brought that to my attention. And we're going to have a comment from, guess what? The Joyner Lucas video.
What? No.
And actually, I got this as I was driving to the studio to record. And I said, you know what? This will be fun to read. This gentleman named Ryan, he goes, Death by Slipknot. He says...
Hey, how do you know his name is Ryan?
Well, I saw it in there. It said Ryan in his earlier stuff. And then this one says Death by Slipknot.
Slipknot the group?
I guess. Yeah. He says, do you enjoy making stuff up? Black males are murdered by cops at a much higher rate per capita than white males. Nothing could be further than the truth. Brian doesn't want me to do this. I'm going to share some statistics later on in the video, not now.
But it is true. It's true the way he worded it.
Yes.
Per capita.
Yes.
Not per...
Incident.
Yes.
Well, we'll get into that. Stay tuned. We're going to make you guys proud. That's a hint. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. And this is Cedric and Brian. All right. So what are we hitting first, Cedric? Are we going to hit... Oh, I know what we're going to hit first.
Yes.
You guys, come on. Please.
Don't say please.
We're not hitting you with Patriot Supply. Go to My Patriots. Go to www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. Please buy some food. Or go to the link in the description or go to cedricandbrian.com. It's easy to remember, cedricandbrian.com. Get yourself a hat. Unity right there.
You say LinkedIn or LinkedIn?
A link in our link.
We're not LinkedIn.
Anyway.
Okay. Oh, you guys probably heard about this before. When we were growing up, we enjoyed such cartoons as Schoolhouse Rock.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
We enjoyed it because that's what we had to watch before we watched Bugs Bunny.
Exactly.
And Fat Albert, which we were allowed to watch back then.
You know what? That reminds me of something. I went to the zoo about 5 years ago, and I saw a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Ruined my entire childhood because it didn't twirl, it didn't spit.
I know.
It just sat there. I'm like, that's when I stopped trusting people. I said, this isn't right. But a Disney, and that should tell you something right there, a Disney cartoon came out in 2001. It was canceled in 2005, and it was called The Proud Family. And the premise was a 14-year-old girl by the name of Penny Proud and all the things she would go through. And she went through the normal things that a teenage girl would go through. But just like everything else, they decided to get woke.
But it wasn't woke. From what I hear, I never watched it. My kid, we kind of missed those generations.
Right.
From what I heard from people who watched it, it was a good show to watch. It had diversity when you didn't have to point out there was diversity. There was just people of all races in the cartoon, but they didn't make that the focal point. So it went off the air, but then, of course, after 2020, everything had to be rebooted differently, right?
Absolutely. It was kind of like Fat Albert back in the day. They didn't point the fact that the kids were all black. You could see they were.
Yeah.
But they dealt with issues. Not necessarily black issues, not necessarily racial issues, just issues that young kids growing up dealt with and how they handled it with integrity and honesty and hard work and perseverance.
And if you watched something that's been around as long as us, believe it or not, is Sesame Street. And Sesame Street had guests of every ethnicity on there. And then, of course, the Muppets are perfect because they don't have any color. They're red and they're blue, and it didn't matter. Yeah. Nobody had to make a big deal out of the fact that Sesame Street had these multi-ethnic people on there. They just did, and you just watched it and you grew up with it.
Yeah, it wasn't like, well, here's our black guest, here's our Asian guest, here's our homosexual guest. It's like, let's talk to these people and find out what's going on in their lives.
Here's our blue Muppet. Here's our red Muppet.
I'm not down with the blue Muppets. They
you know what, though?
They kind of irritate me.
I just realized, though, Bert and Ernie were both yellow.
Yeah.
And I think they were gay.
Were they?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Joking.
Okay.
But we're just trying to point out that they didn't make a deal out of it.
Right.
All right. You want to watch a clip of it?
Let's watch that.
This country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country.
Tilled this land from sea to sea to sea. First there was rice, tobacco, sugar cane. Then Whitney did his thing and cotton became king.
And we were its soldiers,
4 million strong.
fighting for America's freedoms, even though we remained America's slaves.
Built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build it.
Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering.
And continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the system.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop it. There's a kids show.
This is a kids show. This is a wholesome Saturday morning eating your cornflakes in front of the TV kids show.
Did you ever watch anything with Bugs Bunny or something talking about things like reparations?
No. And Schoolhouse Rock is probably the closest thing to it. But it talked about America as a whole and how we are all one people, regardless of our race or religion or color or
Or
creed.
it tried to teach you some civics. Like,
Right.
you didn't know how a law was formed. Not that, now we know it's probably not right. It's who can you pay off and who are all
Exactly.
your donors. But,
And I just want to touch on this real quick.
And don't, you pause whenever you need to also. So
No. Well, thank you, white fellow.
yeah, I'm just giving you permission.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You always,
Thank you, whitey.
wow, look at him bringing race into this. That's unbelievable.
That's what we do. Real quick, they talked about that this country was built on the backs of slaves. That's true to a point. But there are also some names, and tell me if you guys recognize any of these names. Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, Astor, Ford, and Morgan. These names are part of history and synonymous with the American dream. These men transformed every industry they touched, whether it was oil, rail, steel, shipping, automobiles, and finance. I think they had a hand in shaping this country as well.
And it's like, yes, and people like that, regardless of color, shaped this country, and they were people that had wealth, okay? That's something you can't get around. The people with the money control things. It's just how it is. But at least in this country and the way this country was formed, I know you're going to yell at the thing. Well, the slaves couldn't do it. Yes, I know. But this is a country that when immigrants came over, they had the opportunity to climb that ladder and become successful. Whereas if you lived in some place where you had to be born into it, and only the kings and the relatives of the kings could control the purses and everybody else was a serf, this country was founded differently. Yes, we all know, and we were all taught when we were young, that there was slavery, and we know that it's bad. But we didn't watch Saturday morning cartoons to be taught that we're bad. I don't know. I'm ranting.
Well, the funny part, I'll touch on that real quick, is it's funny to see these young kids putting their proud fist up in the air, talking about reparations, and they're wearing designer clothes and stuff, and they're living in this country where they're going to great schools, and they're talking about reparations.
Systemic prejudice, racism, and white supremacy that America was founded with and still has not atoned for.
Slaves built this country. Not only field hands, but carpenters, masons,
Blacksmiths, musicians, inventors built cities from Jamestown to New Orleans to Banneker, Washington.
40 acres and a mule.
We'll take the 40 acres, keep the mule.
We made your families rich.
From the southern plantation.
Who's the tall white girl in there? She's supposed to be the...
Well, she's not allowed to speak. She just stands on the corner holding up the sign.
And her face is like, she's just like pissed off at the world.
Well, they're all pissed off. You notice, and again, like Brian alluded to, this is a cartoon. It's supposed to make you happy and forget. Cartoons were designed to help you forget the troubles of the world. I mean, I felt kind of bad. I was kind of sick to watch Wile E. Coyote get blown up by dynamite. It's like, why'd you keep going to that store and buying stuff if it didn't work out for you? But look at her face. She is just pissed off like no other.
Heirs to the Northern bankers,
To the New England ship owners,
the founding fathers, former presidents,
current senators,
The Illuminati, the New World Order, slaves.
Why are they bringing the Illuminati in on a kids show?
So then you get your 9 or 10-year-old have to go into the kitchen and say, Mom, what's the Illuminati and the New World Order?
It's funny they say that the right is the one full of conspiracy theories and everything like that. And on a kids show, now you're going to bring up the Illuminati to a 10-year-old? Like they have the capacity to be able to figure out what all that's about?
Right.
this country. We had Tubman, Turner,
Frederick D.
Didn't they say Lincoln freed the slaves?
But slaves were men.
and women, and only we can free ourselves. Emancipation is not.
Wait, so now they're not giving Lincoln any props?
Well, they're not giving Lincoln props, and I want to touch on the 40 acres and a mule. For those of you who don't know, that was in 1865, toward the end of the Civil War, every black family was promised to get 40 acres. The mule thing was kind of made up later. It just sounded cute to say, and a mule. But they were promised 40 acres of tillable land in which they could till and work the ground and make a living for themselves. You hear this in real estate a lot, in any of the legal things. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Lincoln said it. He was assassinated. And so then when people came around and said, well, what happened to our 40 acres in a mill? It's like, well, who said that? He goes, well, the dead guy, the dead president, the dead president said it. He's like, well, we can't.
And when it comes to reparations, that's when it should have been done.
It should have been right there, 1865, because my grandparents' grandparents should have gotten something.
Right.
And I'm talking personally, I shouldn't get anything because I've never picked cotton. I've never worked in a field. I haven't endured the slavery. So why should I stand on the backs of what my grandparents' grandparents went through to benefit from that?
So this sign, I kind of stopped right here. Stop killing black people. That kind of goes back to the comment we got.
Yeah. The comment that I read before the video, and like Brian said, yeah, more black men are killed per capita, but not by incident. And we have some stats here. I know you hate this, but I'll go through them real quick. In 2020, wasn't that a great year? 459 whites were killed compared to 243 blacks. In 2021, 302 whites compared to 177 blacks. And in 2022, 177 whites compared to 109 blacks. And to date, and I haven't checked this in 3 or 4 months, so it may be off. To date, 109 whites were killed compared to 58 blacks. So it's a complete fallacy to say that more blacks are killed than whites. And
well, he said per capita, which is true. But again, you look at the statistics of crime rates. How many black people in Chicago are killed by whites versus black?
Not too many. It's usually, I can't say this, but it's black on black crime.
So for his point, you can't use per capita because per capita, then that is way out of proportion to the 6 or 7% of black males that are in this country. But almost 90-something% of black people are killed by
other black men. Yes. So like Brian said, black people make up 13% of the population. Cut that in half. 6% of that is males. They commit 50% of the crimes.
So if cops are confronting the criminals, then they're actually killing whites at a much higher rate.
Yeah, we're making too much sense, though. We should move on. Let's move on with this fun, lighthearted cartoon.
Segregation, redlining, public schools, feeding private prisons, where we become slaves again.
As we celebrate Juneteenth for the
Wait a minute, are they comparing slaves with criminals now? So slaves who got taken from their homeland against their will, and now they're comparing that to criminals in jail. And they're trying to make a equivalency there.
Well, they're saying, and I've heard this before, where the school system is very similar to the jail system, where everything is departmentalized, and you sit in your cell for 40, 45 minutes. Your bell rings. You get up as a herd. You move to your next cell.
Yeah, well, I was also in school with the same thing.
Well, that explains why you got arrested and I didn't.
But it's so insulting to people that actually suffered under slavery that they're comparing criminals. I guess it's par for the course because they're doing that across the board. I mean, they make George Floyd into a hero.
He's a cult hero.
time, our account is still outstanding. Cause this country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. And we demand our 40 acres and a mule. Bump that!
You can keep the mule.
Keep the 40.
We're taking our freedom.
We're both stopping it.
I think that's the end.
Oh, now they're happy.
That's all I can
okay,
take.
But now you have these kids. Look how well dressed they are. I haven't seen any pictures of my grandparents. I don't think they look this well dressed, with the girls wearing the lipstick and the makeup and the nice clothes and their hair done well. And now they want reparations for what they're going through.
Reparations.
It's incredible. And like Brian said, we've talked about this numerous times, and some of you mentioned this in the comments. We're getting sick and tired of hearing about racism. We're getting sick and tired of it. And I said, we're going to talk about it so much where it's not going to be an issue anymore. That is still my prayer and still my hope. At the time of filming this, Brian's going to put his picture up here. Idris Elba, if you don't know him, incredible actor. From
Luther, right?
Yes,
Luther, right?
Luther, yep. Yeah. From The Avengers, The Losers, and one of my personal favorite movies, American Gangster. I had Brian put his picture up because I see some similarities between Idris Elba and myself and looks and demeanor and things. Why do you laugh every time I try and get my, But Idris just said a few days ago, he says, racism is very real, but follows the belief that it's only as powerful as you allow it to be. That's very similar to what Morgan Freeman said a long time ago in that interview with Christopher Wallace, where he said, how do we get rid of racism? Stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say, quote, I stopped describing myself as a black actor when I realized it put me in a box. We've got to grow. We've got to. Our skin is no more than that. It's just skin. Rant over. End quote. And I hope...
then guess what? Now he's going to be called to take that back. Because, remember, he's part of Hollywood. Idris. Even though he's from England, he's part of Hollywood. And they're probably going to make him apologize to this. So we're going to see what kind of backbone he has now. Yeah. Let's see if he holds his ground and say, look, let's see if he's more like Morgan Freeman and says, look, this is what I believe. You're not going to make me change. Now, Morgan Freeman, he's one of those, he's uncancelable. Yeah. I think Idris Elba is probably uncancelable. So hopefully he holds his ground. And they've got to just... But
to a certain point, you don't hear him talk about it too much, but Denzel Washington is another one of those actors that has a very strong backbone. He said, this is who I am. I'm an actor. You don't call me a black actor. You call me this actor. I'm an actor. What was it? In 2020 when we were doing our videos, when there was that big uproar about not having white actors play the role of black voices. I know Proud Family has become woke. And I'm going to admit something here. Don't look down upon me. It's shame. Brian knows this about me. I'm a huge Family Guy fan. The show just cracks me up. But the guy who does Cleveland Grover's voice, the black guy, is white. And I don't think about that.
Did they cancel him? Did you have to?
I think I have to double check. But I think he had to give up his because he was white, playing the voice of a black character.
So what if because this happened a lot. In fact, on The Simpsons, Bart is played by a female. But that's probably okay because females are part of the oppressed class, right?
Exactly.
So you just can't do it the other way around.
Well, and I never saw this, but every time, and this must have been in the 80s and maybe 90s, every time someone did a musical about Peter Pan, sometimes Peter Pan was played by a female.
Well, it was. Sandy Duncan was like one of the most famous.
Yeah, he had that. They had the boyish little body, and no one made a big deal out of it.
Because Peter Pan can't grow up, so it had to be smaller.
Yeah.
Anyway, but obviously now you can't do anything. You can't have gay people can't play straight or straight can't play gay. I'm sure if you're gay you can play straight, but you can't the other way around. You have to. It's that intersectionality chart. As long as you're below it, you can do it, or above it, you can do it. I don't know.
Yeah. If you're low on it, you can rise up and do something else. But if you're already high, you can't go down and take a part from someone else.
Because Cedric could easily do voiceovers for white people.
I don't know what you're talking about. Was that over the top?
Well, you don't have to do it over the top.
Well, in the Proud Family, not only they touched on this subject, but they keep touching on other woke topics. There's also a cartoon that they've done about interracial dating and how the four black girls you see in this picture are mad at the redheaded girl because one of their black male friends likes her, and they're all upset about it. And they're on this conference call and they're talking about it, and unbeknownst to them, she's actually on the call.
So they're not about equality. They're just about give me something.
Right. And one of the girls, I forget which one it was, and I don't remember the cartoon because I don't watch it. They're saying, well, maybe he likes her just because he likes her, and maybe she likes him just because she likes him, and they don't see color.
Yeah, or maybe people. Guess what? People have types. Maybe that's their type, and is it not okay to have a type? And I've heard that too, because this is the one that kills me, and then we'll sign off, is that if you aren't attracted or won't date a transgender female, then you're transphobic. It's like, no, I just don't want to date a guy.
I like my women with natural vaginas.
I mean, it's so dumb. Or if you're not attracted to a man, you're homophobic. It's like, no, we have types, and there's biological types. Obviously, we've had to go forth and fruitful and multiply, right? So you have to have the opposite sex to do that.
I know she's a cartoon, but man, there's just something about redheads. It's just,
oh my God.
Incredible.
Anyways, it's sad that they took this show that was just a Disney cartoon back in the early 2000s, and it was just about innocent stuff that kids could watch and trials and tribulations that any teenager would go through, regardless of color. And now they just made it. I can't imagine what if me and Cedric are 5 years old watching this, and we're next to each other. I mean, how are we going to feel? We're going to feel awkward now next to each other.
Right.
I mean, it's just weird.
Right.
All right.
Well, when this comes out, the Super Bowl will have ended, and I say, well, I'm glad that the black quarterback won. I don't know which one. I'm just glad the black quarterback won. All right, guys. Hope
But
you guys
said you weren't sure about Mahomes.
Or half a black quarterback won if Mahomes won. I still want to see the 23andMe. I want to see the proof. Doggone it.
Isn't that like saying, I'm glad the white tight end won?
Yeah, the white tight end.
I don't know if Philadelphia has a white tight end. I was just throwing it out there.
It'd be weird if you said the white cornerback because those don't exist.
Oh.
Or the defensive back.
Maybe safety. There's a few white safeties.
Right. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
You're not supposed to notice the color of their skin, Cedric.
I do. Very similar to what Idris Elba said. I hope we all can kind of take his lead and stop identifying ourselves as the black this or the white this and just recognize each other as
individuals.
As Martin Luther King Jr. Black History Month by the content of our character and not by the color of our skin.
Can't say that anymore, Cedric. That's not woke. You have to notice skin color. You have to notice it. If not, you're a racist.
Not going to do it.
Well, I'm a racist if I don't notice it.
Not going to do it. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you watch. Make sure you like. I almost forgot my thing. I'll make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell, and continue sharing our white and black channel with everyone you know. And be proud. Until next time, I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. We'll see you later.
When we first started doing this, I could never get the ending right.
Thank you.